In the mansion's vast living room, where the white marble gleamed under the light of imposing chandeliers, the silence was more deafening than any scream could have been. Jonas stood there, in the center of it all, his eyes brimming with despair, framed by gazes that pierced him like sharp blades. It was as if the entire world had decided, at that very moment, that he was guilty. Each pair of judgmental eyes made Jonas's heart beat faster, as if trying to escape his chest, where shame and disbelief gathered like storm clouds. Lorena, the manipulator of sweet smiles and dark intentions, was there too. Her presence was like poison distilled in a crystal vessel, her lips curved in a triumphant smile, an expression of victory she didn't bother to hide. In a voice that was both honeyed and sharp, she addressed Eleonora, the lady of the house, the woman whose kindness and compassion had been the thread that held many together. "Eleonora," Lorena said, her words dripping with malice, "I think it's time to call the police." Lorena's request hung in the air, and the silence that followed was like a heavy blanket covering the room. Everyone waited for Eleonora's answer, and the anticipation was almost palpable. Jonas, for his part, felt the ground give way beneath his feet as the world he knew crumbled around him. He could never have imagined that one day he would be in this position, accused of a crime he didn't commit, about to lose everything he had fought for, including his dignity. Eleonora, however, was in no rush to respond. She remained motionless, observing the scene before her with eyes that were both discerning and compassionate. Within her, a battle raged. She pondered Jonas's years of dedicated service, the respect and loyalty he had always shown. And then there was Lorena's smile, a woman she knew would do anything to achieve her goals. Eleonora had to decide, and her decision would be a turning point. Finally, she looked up, and what she said left everyone speechless. "No, Lorena," her voice was firm, devoid of any hesitation. "We won't call the police, not until we know the whole truth." The room seemed to breathe again, but the tension didn't ease. Instead, a new kind of electricity permeated the air, a mixture of surprise and admiration. Jonas's eyes, previously filled with despair, now filled with tears of gratitude. He knew this decision was an act of faith, proof that Eleonora believed in him, or at least was willing to give him a chance to tell his side of the story. And for Lorena, the decision was a blow. Her smile faltered for a moment before regaining its composure, but deep down, she knew something had slipped her control. It was a moment that would change everything, an instant when the truth would become the most important pursuit, and where Eleonora's courage in defying the obvious would give Jonas hope that, despite everything, justice could still prevail. Jonas always believed that life was an intricate tapestry of challenges and opportunities in disguise, a philosophy he learned from his father before his father was tragically taken from him. From an early age, Jonas had a watchful eye and a ready smile, traits he carried with him throughout his years. In every corner of life, he found reasons to smile, even when the shadows of fate seemed to try to obscure his light. Jonas's childhood wasn't marked by material abundance, but by a wealth of teachings. His father always said that every problem was a chance to learn and grow, and Jonas embraced this idea as a personal truth. When his father passed away in a freak accident, Jonas faced his grief with admirable courage for one so young. He knew he needed to be strong, not only for himself, but for the small family he had left. The absence of his mother, an ethereal figure who one day simply didn't come home, left him with a sense of emptiness he struggled to fill. Jonas had no choice but to become the adult his life needed. And it was this determination that led him to Eleonora's majestic mansion high on the hill. Resolved to find a job that could support himself, he found his chance. The mansion was a place of contrasts, where the opulence of its rooms echoed the solitude of its silent corridors. Jonas, with his infectious energy, quickly became a welcome presence among the staff. His days were filled with tasks that many would consider arduous, but for him, they were opportunities to demonstrate his dedication and learn something new. He remembered his father's words every time he faced a new challenge. A broken faucet, floors to wax. Each task was faced with the same smile that defied fatigue and monotony. Eleonora, the owner of the mansion, was an enigmatic and generous-hearted woman who observed Jonas with growing curiosity and appreciation. There was something about this young man that reminded her of days gone by, of a youth long since past. Jonas, for his part, saw Eleonora not just as an employer, but as an authority figure who somehow filled some of the void left by his parents. He saw the mansion as a new family, a community where, despite their differences, he could belong. And then, as the shadow of suspicion fell over him, Jonas felt the weight of his world crumble. The theft accusations were like sharp knives, cutting through the trust he had built. But even in the face of injustice, he maintained his unbreakable spirit, determined to prove his innocence and believing that, just as his father had always taught, this challenge was also an opportunity in disguise. He was not alone, and that in itself was a victory. The moment Jonas walked through the gates of the majestic mansion, a mixture of emotions washed over him. His eyes widened, taking in every detail of the place that would now become his new workplace. The splendor of the building, with its sturdy stone walls covered in green vines, seemed to whisper stories of a bygone era. Eleonora, the kind owner, was waiting for him with a welcoming smile, conveying a sense of belonging Jonas hadn't felt in a long time. Eleonora was a woman of indeterminate age, with silver hair that shone like strands of moonlight. Her deep blue eyes overflowed with wisdom and a kindness that warmed the heart. When welcoming Jonas, she made a point of conveying her appreciation for his presence, ensuring he felt at home. It was as if she saw something special in him, a spark many overlooked. However, it wasn't just his presence that drew attention. Her generosity extended beyond the initial words of welcome. Throughout that first week, Jonas felt Eleonora's generosity firsthand. It wasn't just a matter of gestures or words. It manifested itself in simple, genuine acts. Every morning, there would be steaming coffee and a sincere smile waiting for him in the kitchen, a ritual that would soon become a cherished part of his routine. Eleonora made a point of checking in on him, always genuinely interested in his answers. On the other hand, the presence of Lorena, Eleonora's niece, was a chilling shadow to the warmth Eleonora radiated. Lorena was a strikingly beautiful young woman, but with a gaze as icy as the coldest winter morning. For Jonas, every encounter with her was like facing a biting wind, making him question his acceptance there. Lorena watched him suspiciously, her eyes constantly assessing, searching for any flaw, any reason to justify her discomfort with his presence. However, not far away there was another figure who noticed Jonas with interest. Professor Arthur, an old family friend and frequent visitor to the mansion, was a man with a sharp mind and a generous heart. He was known for his keen perception and for seeing beyond appearances. From the beginning, Arthur sensed the purity in Jonas's heart, something that many of the mansion's inhabitants, wrapped up in their own worries, failed to see. Arthur soon became a friend and ally to Jonas. In quiet conversations between tasks, he offered words of encouragement and wise counsel. More than a mentor, Arthur was a calming presence, like an anchor in a storm. He knew Jonas carried the weight of unfair distrust on his shoulders, but he also knew the strength and integrity within the young man, qualities that would soon prove their worth. Thus, while the mansion lived its routines and dramas, Jonas began to find his place, supported by Eleonora's generosity and Arthur's wisdom. And although Lorena still remained an enigma, Jonas knew his path was set. With determination and humility, he was determined to show that, despite the shadows surrounding him, his inner light could not be extinguished. From the first moment her eyes landed on Jonas, Lorena felt a sense of unease she couldn't quite name. There was something about the way Eleonora smiled at him, a glint of approval in the matriarch's eyes that deeply disturbed her. It was as if, with his mere presence, Jonas aroused a genuine admiration that Lorena, despite all her efforts to please, had never been able to obtain from the millionaires. That immediate sympathy felt like a thorn in her pride, a constant comparison that made her feel diminished. The mansion, with its wide corridors and imposing halls, was a perfect stage for the subtle dance of hidden intentions. And it was on one of those days of radiant sunshine, as the scent of garden flowers gently filtered through the open windows, that a small incident lit the spark of an idea in Lorena's mind. Jonas, in his usual diligence, had dropped a vase while cleaning one of the chandeliers. The vase, though valuable, wasn't completely broken, but the brief disturbance was enough for Lorena to sense an opportunity. With a smile that didn't light her eyes, Lorena began to plot small traps. Her intention was subtle, almost imperceptible, but carefully calculated. Leaving an object out of place, turning off a light in a secluded hallway, or whispering a doubt in an inattentive ear. She wanted to create a web of distrust around Jonas, a veil of uncertainty that could shake Eleonora's faith in him. However, each attempt seemed to dissipate like mist in the sun. Jonas, with his inherent honesty and attention to detail, managed to undo each of the traps with an almost instinctive skill. When a piece of the puzzle seemed out of place, he would find it and replace it with precision, without even realizing someone was trying to manipulate him. This only fueled Lorena's anger. Like fuel to a blazing fire, her frustration grew with each failure, fueling a desire for revenge that took root deeper in her heart. Lorena saw herself as an invisible orchestrator, manipulating the threads of fate to her advantage. But contrary to what she expected, it was as if Jonas had an invisible shield, a luck that disarmed her at every step. Perhaps it was the sincerity in his smile or the humility in his work that shielded him from her intrigues. For Lorena, this was unbearable. The idea that Jonas could be unshakable, untouchable by her wiles, solidified her resolve into something darker. Thus the mansion became a silent battlefield for Lorena, a place where her aspirations and insecurities clashed in an internal turmoil. With each passing day, her obsession with discrediting Jonas grew, fueled by the bitterness of his constant failures. And as Eleonora continued to observe with her quiet wisdom, Lorena found herself increasingly consumed by a desire to prove that, behind that facade of integrity, Jonas was as flawed as anyone. However, she still didn't realize that her own shadow was the greatest obstacle in her path. The gentle morning breeze wafted through the mansion, carrying with it the scent of fresh flowers dancing through the garden. Eleonora, sitting in her favorite chair by the window, watched Jonas outside as he diligently swept away the fallen leaves. There was something about him that seemed strangely familiar, like an ancient melody echoing in the depths of her memory. Even without fully understanding it, she felt an almost maternal protectiveness toward Jonas, as if an invisible thread, weaving together long separated destinies, connected them. It wasn't just his diligence that caught Eleonora's attention. It was the way he carried himself, an integrity she found only in rare souls. Eleonora, a woman of experience and depth, was guided by an almost supernatural intuition. And this intuition told her that Jonas wasn't there by chance. She knew that, somehow, he had a crucial role to play in her life. On that particular morning, as the sun filtered through the treetops, Eleonora decided to open a piece of her heart to Jonas. Calling him inside, he offered her a cup of tea, an invitation not just for a drink, but for a moment of sharing. Sitting across from each other, enveloped in an aura of tranquility, Eleonora began to tell a story that rarely found voice. She spoke of her son, a free-spirited, generous-hearted young man who had departed so soon. Her words, though spoken calmly, carried the weight of a pain that had never fully healed. Jonas listened intently, each of Eleonora's words reverberating in his own heart, as if an echo of his own life were being revealed. Eleonora's eyes, usually so firm and resolute, were slightly teary as she recalled moments of joy and loss. Jonas, touched by the vulnerability Eleonora confided in him, felt a surge of inner strength, a desire to protect this woman who had welcomed him more than anyone else. Without knowing exactly why, he promised her he would always care for her, ensuring that as long as he was around, she would never have to face the world alone. Jonas's commitment wasn't just a verbal promise, it was an oath his heart was determined to keep. There was something about Eleonora that called to him, something that resonated in his very soul, as if, somewhere, their destinies were intertwined by threads of a cosmic tapestry. He couldn't explain the rush he felt, but he knew the connection between them was as real and tangible as the sunlight illuminating their faces. From that day forward, a new dynamic emerged between them. Eleonora, grateful for Jonas's comforting presence, found in him an anchor amid the storms that arose from time to time. And Jonas, in turn, discovered in Eleonora the figure he had long yearned to find. Someone who offered him not just a job, but a home, a family. As the days passed, the mansion witnessed the blossoming of this inexplicable connection, a relationship that needed no grandiose words to be understood, for it was felt in the very essence of their hearts. And so, under the roof of that house where so many secrets lay hidden, Eleonora and Jonas forged a bond that defied logic, but which was for both the epitome of true understanding and love. In the silent vastness of the mansion, where the wind seemed to whisper ancient secrets between the walls, Lorena moved with the subtlety of a shadow. Discontent boiled in her chest like a storm about to break, fueled by the daily sight of Eleonora and Jonas, two souls who seemed, to her, to dance around a world that should have been hers alone. Envy turned into an acid that slowly corroded her patience, and Lorena knew she could not allow this to continue. Determined to claim the space she felt was rightfully hers, Lorena devised a plan whose cunning could rival the most ingenious literary plots. Her sharp and calculating mind focused on something she knew to be Eleonora's weak point. Her jewelry, not only precious to the eye, but laden with stories, memories of a life rich in experiences and feelings that could not be valued in coins. Each piece, a generations-old heirloom, represented her family's story, holding memories of moments of joy and pain, triumph and loss. Lorena knew that if she could orchestrate the sudden disappearance of these jewels, the impact would be devastating. And, in a dangerous game of chess, Jonas would be the sacrificial piece, the one everyone would point to without hesitation. Patiently, Lorena waited. Her steps were calculated, her presence almost ethereal. She watched the movements of the house like a hawk circling overhead, alert, waiting for the perfect moment to swoop down on its prey. She knew every routine, every whisper of the mansion, and it was on a quiet afternoon, when the autumn breeze began to blow the first reddish leaves across the garden, that the opportunity finally presented itself. With surgical precision, Lorena glided through the house, moving with the dexterity of someone who knows every corner, every shadow. She knew Jonas would be busy in the garden, tending the rose bushes that Eleonora herself so adored. And so, with the house practically deserted, Lorena entered Eleonora's room. The afternoon sun streamed through the curtains, casting a golden glow on the dressing table where her jewelry rested. There was a solemn stillness in the air, as if the mansion itself were holding its breath. Lorena, with steady hands, reached for the hand-selected pieces. This wasn't just a matter of theft, but of a calculated coup that needed to be perfect. Her mind was already weaving a web of lies and manipulations that, once set in motion, could not be undone. She stored the jewels in a premeditated hiding place, a place known only to her, where they would remain until the right moment arrived to incriminate Jonas. With a last glance at the room she was leaving, Lorena left as silently as she had entered, carrying with her not only the jewels, but the fate of everyone in that house. And so, as evening fell, as Eleonora and Jonas, oblivious to the gathering turmoil, shared a cup of tea on the terrace, Lorena's web began to unravel, promising to transform their newly formed bond into an emotional battleground. The wind, now cooler, carried with it the omen that a storm was imminent. In the stillness of the early morning, when the mansion was cloaked in shadows and silence, Lorena, the villain with the shrewd gaze and furtive intentions, executed her plan with the precision of a maestro conducting an orchestra. With light, calculated steps, she made her way to the small room that had belonged to Jonas, the mansion's cleaner. There, amid the simplicity of the setting, where the only luxury was the serenity that usually filled the space, Lorena sowed discord. With a swift gesture, she placed the stolen jewels among Jonas's few possessions, like someone planting a poisonous seed in a garden of innocence. The next morning arrived charged with an almost palpable tension. The mansion, usually a haven of tranquility and cordiality, seemed shrouded in a fog of distrust that crept between the walls and penetrated the hearts of its inhabitants. There was something distinct in the air, a dissonance that did not go unnoticed even by Professor Arthur, a man of methodical habits and keen perception. He, who knew the rhythms of the house like few others, observed with attentive eyes the subtle changes in behavior, the abruptly interrupted conversations, the averted glances. Lorena, with the skill of a spider in its web, began to weave rumors that spread like a silent yet icy breeze. In seemingly innocent conversations, she sowed doubts about the trustworthiness of the servants, questioning the mansion's safety and the loyalty of those who worked there. Her words were seeds of doubt, sown with precision, and soon germinated in suspicious glances and whispers in the hallways. What was once a house united by bonds of trust was now a breeding ground for discord, where every gesture was carefully analyzed. Among the employees, the tension grew more intense with each passing moment. Uncertainty and fear hung in the air like a storm about to break. Jonas, unaware of the fate that had been planned for him, continued his work with the same dedication as always, oblivious to the growing murmur that was beginning to surround him. He, who had always been a model of integrity and dedication, now found himself at the epicenter of a storm that threatened not only his position in the mansion, but his very essence. Eleonora, the generous-hearted millionaire, noticed the change in the atmosphere and felt the weight of worry on her shoulders. Something was wrong, something disturbing the harmony she so cherished in her home. And although she didn't yet know the extent of Lorena's plot, she felt the need to be vigilant, for a shadow threatened to obscure the light she had fought so hard to maintain in her life. Thus, on the eve of the grand social event, the mansion was a cauldron of emotions about to boil over. Echoes of distrust reverberated through the halls, and every member of the household, from the humblest to the most influential, knew something was about to change. The stage was set, and the approaching storm promised to transform everything in its path. The opulence of the mansion's main hall shone under the glow of imposing chandeliers, each crystal reflecting the elegance of the event. The guests, dressed in formal attire, were a vision of sumptuousness, immersed in animated conversations that filled the room with a constant murmur. Yet there was a palpable tension in the air, a premonition that something unexpected was about to happen. It was then that Lorena, with the sharp gaze of a hawk searching for its prey, approached the center of the hall. Her voice, a silken thread that cut through the hubbub, caught everyone's attention. With an air of mock surprise, she announced that a precious jewel belonging to the esteemed Eleonora was inexplicably missing. The silence that followed was so heavy, it seemed to suffocate the air in the room. Curious and alarmed glances intertwined, creating an invisible web of suspicion and unease. Amidst this whirlwind of emotions, Lorena, with meticulously calculated theatricality, demanded that the belongings of Jonas, the mansion's dedicated cleaner, be searched. The implication was clear, and shock spread like wildfire among those present. Jonas, whose honesty was known and respected by all, remained motionless, a look of disbelief etched on his face. His heart, once calm, now beat frantically, as if trying to escape this unfair situation. Before any action could be taken, Eleonora, the family matriarch, entered the scene. Her presence was majestic, and her voice, firm and calm, cut through the tension in the room like a gentle breeze on a scorching day. With a confidence that only years of wisdom can confer, she looked directly at Lorena and, denying all accusations, declared that the jewel in question had been given to Jonas as a gesture of gratitude for his years of loyal service. The revelation was a coup de théâtre no one expected. A murmur of surprise and admiration ran through the crowd as Lorena, once so confident, now struggled to maintain her composure. Her eyes, once filled with triumph, now burned with the flame of humiliation and anger. The guests' expressions varied between astonishment and silent approval of Eleonora's wisdom. Jonas, still stunned by the turn of events, felt an immense weight lifted from his shoulders. A renewed warmth filled his heart, and his eyes, for a brief moment, met Eleonora's. There was a mutual understanding, a tacit recognition of trust and respect that words could not express. Thus, the event that promised to be just another night of celebration became a milestone of unexpected revelations and strengthened bonds. Under the shimmering light of the chandeliers, Jonas's pride and dignity were restored, while Lorena, her mask of villainy now shattered, found herself isolated amidst the glare of a truth she could no longer deny. After the night of revelations, silence hung thick over the mansion, like a thick fog drowning out the unspoken words. Jonas, still stunned by the unexpected turn of events, walked through the vast, cold corridors, reflecting on what had happened. In his heart, a mixture of gratitude and disbelief took shape, intertwined with the feeling that a new chapter was opening in his life. He was in the library, a haven of tranquility filled with majestic bookshelves that rose to the ceiling, when Eleonora, the lady of the house, entered. Her gaze was kind, and there was a glint of satisfaction in her eyes, as if she had seen beyond appearances and gambled on the hidden truth. Jonas, noticing her presence, stood up and, with disarming honesty, expressed his gratitude. "Mrs. Eleonora, I don't know how to thank you for your trust. I never expected such a gesture from someone like you, especially when all seemed lost." Eleonora smiled, a smile full of understanding and empathy. "Jonas, I've always believed that true wealth lies in the people around us, not in material things. I saw in you someone worthy, someone who never allowed themselves to be corrupted by injustice. It's not just trust. It's recognition of who you truly are." Meanwhile, in another wing of the mansion, Lorena took refuge in a room decorated with exuberant luxury but devoid of human warmth. Her mind seethed with resentment and unfinished plans. She felt humiliated. Her mask of control and power had been ripped away in front of everyone, and shame burned in her chest. The rejection she had experienced that night was unbearable, but instead of resignation, the villainy in her heart fueled revenge. Eleonora may have won this battle, but the war is far from over. she murmured to herself, already devising new schemes to overthrow her adversary. The mansion, once a symbol of undisturbed opulence, had become a silent battlefield. The walls seemed to whisper secrets, mute witnesses to the growing tensions between the inhabitants. The servants, who had watched this unfold with watchful eyes, now pondered where their loyalties lay, knowing that their choices would shape the future of everyone there. Each day, the corridors echoed with hesitant footsteps and furtive glances exchanged in a play of masks. Some saw Eleonora as a just and benevolent leader, while others, fearing Lorena's reprisals, chose to remain vigilantly neutral. Jonas, now more aware of his position, knew that his return to work carried a new meaning. He was a key piece in this intricate puzzle, where truth and loyalty would be tested at every turn. Thus, the mansion continued to exist under palpable tension, a place where past and present intertwined, and the future awaited uncertain, the resolution of the battles fought in the shadows. And as the days passed, each character, with their own motivations and secrets, waited for the moment when fate would reveal its hand, in the eternal dance between power and redemption. The sands of time continued to flow in the great hourglass of life, and though the shadows in the mansion were dense, there was a light that insisted on shining, seeping through the narrowest cracks. Jonas, the humble janitor, was the embodiment of this light. Despite the machinations that sought to tarnish his honor, he remained like an unshakable rock, standing firm on the truth that pulsed in his heart. His story teaches us that, even in the face of the most challenging adversity, truth has a mysterious way of revealing itself. Like water finding its way through the hardest stones, Jonas's truth began to emerge, flowing slowly but with inevitable certainty, washing away the accumulating lies and deceptions. Amidst all this, the millionairess of the mansion, whose name carried the weight of generations past, began to notice something that had previously eluded her. It was as if a curtain had been lifted, revealing a world she had never noticed. The inexplicable connection she felt for Jonas was more than mere sympathy. It was an invisible bond, strong enough to transcend social classes and prejudices. Who hasn't experienced a moment when we cross paths with someone who, without warning, transforms our world? Perhaps it was the way he moved through the house, with an intrinsic kindness, or the way his honest gaze met hers and spoke without words. But she knew he was part of her life for a reason yet to be revealed. So as you reflect on this, think about that act of unexpected kindness that has already changed your destiny. Perhaps it was a smile on a cloudy day, a helping hand in a time of need, or a word of encouragement when all seemed lost. Jonas was this for many around him, a source of light, who, asking for nothing in return, gave the best of himself. The millionaire, recognizing this truth, found herself filled with new determination. She understood that she had the power to be that same source of light for others, using her position and resources to create a legacy of kindness and justice. As the wind rustled through the garden's ancient trees, sweeping away the fallen leaves, the mansion was about to witness a new chapter. The fate of its inhabitants would no longer be shaped by the villain's schemes, but by the strength of the truths that emerged, and the hearts that chose to unite in compassion and solidarity. And so Jonah's story, with its twists and turns and revelations, invites us to reflect on how we can be agents of change in the lives of others. May we be courageous enough to seek the truth and generous enough to share our light, even in the darkest places.